Today we're taking a look at some of my favorite new travel tech for 2025. We've got a bunch of good stuff to get into, so let's just dive straight in. First up is the Dockcase Smart USB-C Hub. This actually just launched on Kickstarter. It's going to be going for the next few weeks. It is a combination USB-C hub and SSD enclosure. I love the idea of this when I saw it. When I travel with my laptop, I am always bringing an external SSD and I'm always bringing a USB-C hub. Having the combination of both was just so great. It'll house both 2230 or 2242 size SSDs, so that smaller form factor. It can support up to 2 terabyte drives, and it uses a chip that supports PCIe 3.0 Gen 2, so unfortunately no PCI 4.0 or 5.0, but you still get pretty good speeds. They claim around 1,000 megabytes a second. My real world use, I got right around 900. Outside of the SSD enclosure, this is a great full-featured USB-C hub. You have the main USB-C connection to the computer. You also have a 100-watt USB-C power delivery port, an SD and micro SD card slot, a full HDMI 2.1 port that'll support 4K 120, and one USB-C and one USB-A port that are both 10 gigabit 3.2 Gen 2 ports. Just about all the basics are covered there. I love that it's HDMI 2.1. It is a UHS 2 SD card slot, which is great for the content creators like myself. And in addition to all that I/O, you get a really great touchscreen on the exterior, which is surprisingly useful. It has all of the information for the actual hub itself, but it gives you health readings for the SSD drive as well as transfer rates and everything like that. There's also an active cooling fan built in to make sure the SSD doesn't overheat. I did find this to be a little bit whiny under load when I was doing some stress tests, but it's definitely better to have it than not, just for the overall health of the SSD. With the hub itself, you do get this really nice short, 40 gigabit braided cable along with it. Like I said, this is on Kickstarter right now. They have some early bird pricing right now for $129. The full MSRP is going to be $179, and it's shipping in May 2025. Got a brand new ultralight power bank. This is the Nitecore Pocket 10K. I'm a huge fan of Nitecore as an avid backpacker and a wannabe ultralighter. Every gram counts, even for regular travel sometimes. This is essentially an ultralight version of the NB10000 that has a built-in USB-C cable. It's 10,000 milliamp hours of capacity. You have 18 watts recharging for the USB-C input. Output from the USB-C port, you get 22.5 watts. And then with this clever little built-in USB-C cable, you get a total of 20 watts of charging. I love having built-in cables like this when they don't get in the way at all, especially when they're able to keep the weight down as much as this. This weighs 160 grams versus the normal NB10000 weighing 150 grams. So for an extra 10 grams, you get this built-in cable, and I think that's worth the added convenience. I also really like this newer shape here. It's a little bit thicker and a little bit wider than the NB10000, but a little bit shorter and more stout. All in all, it's about the same dimensions. It comes out to 4.13 inches by 2.76 inches, and it's 0.49 inches deep. You have IP65 water and dust resistance. All in all, it is as good as the NB10000 that I've been using and loving for a number of years. Just came out pretty recently. Definitely worth a look if you're in the market for an ultralight power bank. Really quick, I want to give a huge thank you to BLUETTI for sponsoring this week's video and introduce you to their brand new Elite 200 V2 power station. This thing is an absolute beast in a surprisingly tiny package and offers a lot of things I haven't seen from anyone else in this space. I think it would make a great companion for anyone like me that does a bunch of backcountry off-grid camping, or if you just want some peace of mind having a strong power backup in the case of an emergency. Getting into some of the specs, it has 2,073 watt hours of capacity and 2,600 watts of output. 2,600 watts is more than enough to handle just about any appliance you want to plug in, running your fridge or microwave or TV at home during an outage, or if you want to charge an e-bike, an electric cooler, or a heater when you're camping. It even has something called Herculean mode that can deliver 3,900 watts of output, which is absolutely wild. It's more than double the output of my entire circuit for my home office with the obnoxious amount of tech I keep in here. It also uses auto-grade lithium iron phosphate batteries, and it's rated for 6,000 charge cycles. That's enough for daily charge and discharge cycles every single day for 17 years. It's got a great array of output ports. You have 4 AC outlets, one 12-volt DC outlet, 2 15-watt USB-A ports, and 2 100-watt USB-C ports. For input, you can charge via AC up to 1,800 watts, solar up to 1,000 watts, 96 watts from a vehicle, or a 2,400 watt max charge with both AC and DC input together. This allows for an 80% charge in 45 minutes or 2.4 hours if you want to use only solar. All of this power comes in a ridiculously tiny package. It measures 13.78 inches by 9.84 inches by 12.74 inches. It's 38% smaller than the previous AC200 model from BLUETTI. Between the small size and the built-in carry handles, it's super easy to carry around and store or put wherever you want. It'll fit easily behind the seat in a vehicle, or if you want to bring it in a small tent with you while you're camping. It's definitely not lightweight though, coming in at 53.4 pounds, but that's pretty standard in my experience in this space with something of similar capacity. Part of the reason for that weight though is because they really knocked it out of the park with the overall build quality here. It feels sturdy and has a dual layer shell for shock absorption to ensure nothing is damaged on the interior. They've done quite a few other things for safety as well outside of that double layer shell. It has smart multi-chip protection with the power inverter. It can handle inputs of up to 20 amps or 60 volts without damage. It's flame retardant and able to be grounded, which is excellent. You don't want to risk any fires in your home or out in the backcountry. It also has built-in alarm messaging for any temperature, circuit, or voltage issues. I haven't run across this personally, luckily, but it's nice to know that it's there in case anything happens. Controlling and managing the unit has been pretty great here as well. You have built-in LCD display for monitoring all of the basics like battery levels and charge discharge, but they also have a really great companion app with their AI BMS system for real-time monitoring and battery management. It can even auto-trigger solar charging for you as you need it. This was my first experience with BLUETTI and I'm definitely impressed. Capacity is second to none. The build quality is excellent. All in all, it's been a great device that's definitely coming along with me this year on my backcountry adventures. Be sure to check the link in the description down below if you want to learn more or pick one up for yourself. Huge thanks again to BLUETTI for sponsoring this week's video. Next up, we've got an update to a longtime favorite of mine. This is the InCharge XS. It is a 4-in-1 keychain cable that is capable of charging up to 240 watts. The original InCharge X has been a longtime favorite for many years. It'll offer up to 100 watts of charging. They were able to make upgrades and allow this to do a full 240 watts of charging, which is pretty wild. So the 4-in-1 combination here is pretty interesting. You have lightning on one side and underneath it you have a USB-C port. And on this side you have a USB-A with a USB-C underneath as well. So you can do USB-A to lightning, USB-C to USB-C, whatever combination that you might need. I was disappointed to see that they got rid of the micro USB here. My favorite aspect of this is it's able to handle those legacy devices, and I still have a couple of straggler micro USBs out there. I would love if they were to have included it in here. The overall build quality here is a little bit improved. You have a metal body instead of the previous plastic. I also feel like the hinges are a little bit stronger and sturdier feeling. A lot of people told me they had issues with their InCharge X in the past. I've been using one very regularly for several years and haven't had a single problem, but it does seem like they made some changes or reinforcements here, which is really nice. Outside of the 240 watt charging, you also get 480 megabits of data transfer. It is 3.1 inches in total length. It weighs just a little bit over an ounce at 34 grams. It comes in at $30, a really good pickup if you're still straggling and holding on to some lightning items. Or if you just want something that is super small and convenient for USB-C or USB-A to C charging. Next up, we've got a new item from VITURE. This is the VITURE Pro Neckband. This is a sort of all-in-one Android device that's meant to pair with the VITURE Pro XR glasses. I'm a huge fan of this space. I've been a huge fan of the VITURE glasses and X-Real glasses over the past year or two. It's been so fun to watch the tech change and improve so quickly. This is definitely a huge jump up from the previous VITURE Neckband. It's an oversimplification, but this is kind of VITURE's version or answer to the X-Real Beam Pro. It runs an Android-based OS called Spacewalker. It has the full 3DOF support, so you can do the smooth follow or you can lock the screen while your head moves around. You have all that built in here with a very XR-friendly UI that's not dissimilar to the Apple Vision Pro or the X-Real Beam Pro. I'll do my best with some B-roll here, but apologies in advance. It's always extremely difficult to get good footage to support what I'm talking about here if it ends up being a little bit light in this segment. In the Spacewalker OS, you have full Google Play Store support, so that'll support any sort of cloud gaming that you want to do, as well as, media streaming for movies, TV shows, YouTube, social media, stuff like that. It also has the full suite of Google productivity apps, which is really fun as well if you want to get some work done without having to worry about your phone or other devices. You have a 3280 280 milliamp hour battery that'll last about 4 hours. You can spec this with up to 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. Has built-in Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, which is great, so you can connect any peripherals you want. You get pretty fast Wi-Fi with the 6E support. I always really liked the form factor of the original neckband, and it's nice to see that they stuck with it here. So there's something that's just really convenient about having to have this around your neck. I wear my XR glasses when I'm cooking and doing meal prep a lot of times, or I'll wear it when I'm walking or at the gym or something like that. It's just a very convenient setup to have it around your neck here. The controls have changed quite a bit from the original neckband though. Comes with a mobile companion app to be able to control it with your phone. There's also a built-in AI assistant called VITURE, so you can do a few voice commands here and there. But the big draw here now is that they have hand controls and gesture support through a little camera on the front here. The hand gesture feature is unfortunately still in beta, and I would say it works most of the time, but they definitely need to put some work into it. The success rate for doing what I want it to do is still a little bit lower than I'm comfortable with. I realize it's still in beta though, so I have some hope, and I think that's going to be the big deciding factor here. You know, a lot of people are going to be looking at this versus the Beam Pro. Both devices are really great and have their pros and cons. I love this form factor here, but without the gesture controls working perfectly, I think navigating and controlling this is a little more difficult, just how it currently stands right now with the current software. I don't really like that I need to use my phone to control it. I would love to be able to have exclusively hand gestures or on-device controls like the previous neckband. Having to use my phone to control it kind of defeats the purpose of having a secondary device that's meant to avoid the phone usage with something like this. That's where the Beam Pro takes a bit of the edge, but if they can do the hand gestures here successfully as it moves out of beta, I think it is a clear winner. Got a new travel router I've been testing out. This is the Asus RT-AX57 Go. This isn't brand new for this year, but it's brand new for me this year. I've finally gotten a chance to check it out and test it and compare it to the few other travel routers I've been testing. I'm a huge fan of travel routers in general. If you've never brought one on a trip with you or used one before, they are incredibly useful and just get better and better the more that you use them. I can spend 10 more minutes talking about the benefits of travel routers, but if you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably already heard that. So I'm just going to skip over and get into some of the basics here. It's Wi-Fi 6 capable, so theoretical speeds of up to 3000 megabits. You know, we're probably not going to see that here, but nonetheless, great to see 6 at least. I'd love to see 6E or 7, you know, in future tiny models like this. You have kind of a standard regular router mode where you plug in the Ethernet, but you also have the option to extend Wi-Fi. If you're using public Wi-Fi, you can add in your own VPN or security features there, or you can have it connected to your phone and tether and use your 4G, 5G service as a hotspot in conjunction with the router. Getting into some of the I/O here, you have one WAN port and one LAN port. You have one USB-C port for power. You have one USB 3A port that you can use for a hard drive connection or your mobile phone tethering. A reset button here that is a little unfortunately too easy to press, as well as a physical toggle switch on the other side here. The toggle switch is a really nice addition. You can customize a few different actions for that. I have it to toggle on and off VPN service. It supports OpenVPN and WireGuard, and Asus actually offers some sort of security software that is built in and free if you want to use that in addition or instead of a VPN service. A few other things here that stood out to me compared to the other travel routers I've tested that I really enjoyed. You have a companion mobile app to be able to manage the network, which is really nice. Typically something I like to do with a computer, but it's always good to have the option if I don't have my laptop with me, you know, to be able to get into all of the controls and settings and everything pretty easily. You also have the option of setting up a guest network, which is standard on a lot of home routers, but not always as common for these super small form factor travel routers. It also works as a mesh extension if you want to use it in your home in conjunction with the travel router. So you can kind of have a built-in mesh system at home, you know, pull this out, throw it in your bag when you're ready to go. A really nice added feature there. This comes out to $80 right now, which I think is a great deal. You know, it's a little bit less than my favorite Slate AX travel router from gl.inet. It's a little bit more expensive than some of the others, so it's kind of right in between in that sweet spot, depending on the features that you want. I think this would be a good pickup. My only real complaint here is the lack of a secondary LAN port. I would like an extra port here. A lot of times I'm plugging in multiple things if I'm bringing this to go for like a full tech travel setup. But other than that, no complaints. It's worked really well. I would definitely recommend it as a lower priced alternative to the Slate AX. I've got one non-tech bonus that I just had to share with all of you because it is very time sensitive. This is the Almond Oak Expandable Travel Backpack. This is a brand new travel backpack from a brand new company that just launched on Kickstarter. They're offering a fully fleshed out travel backpack here right now for $99. That's why I had to talk about it now. Jump on these deals if they sound good to you. Getting into some of the specs though, it's a 25-liter bag that is expandable an extra 5 liters. It unzips similar to, a compression packing cube or, some roller luggage that has that expandable section. They kind of have that built in here. Measures 17 inches tall, 13 inches wide, and 7 inches or 9 inches deep, depending on if you have it expanded or not. Comes out to 1.7 pounds or 780 grams, so definitely very lightweight on the spectrum of travel bags. It uses a 280D nylon exterior and has a 100D nylon interior. This thing definitely feels very basic. I wouldn't necessarily say it feels cheap, but it definitely feels lightweight and simple compared to a lot of, the fully fleshed out, more expensive travel backpacks I've had come across the desk here. But that's not necessarily a con. 280D fabric is plenty burly for travel use. I use 40D materials in ultralight backpacking, and that's scrubbing across, rocks and brush out in the wilderness. Stuff holds up well for that. 280D is probably going to be plenty for most people's trips. The design and layout here is really nice. It is extremely similar to my Evergood CPL bag, which is one of my favorite in terms of organization. On the back, you have a separate compartment for your laptop that is raised up off the ground. You have an additional pouch in front of it if you want to carry a tablet, as well as a little zippered area. On the interior is just a full empty clamshell type of design. I'm a big fan of that less is more type of mentality with the organization. Let me design it how I want. I have a lot of pouches and like keeping things, segmented and organized. You do have one large clamshell zipper pouch on the opposite side, but other than that, it's pretty much just an empty cavern in the center, so you'll either love that or hate it depending on your preferences. You have a water bottle pocket on the outside that is a little bit small, but works pretty well from my initial experience here. You have a quick access pouch that runs along the entire front of the interior, as well as a little bit of a secret quick access pocket on the side here. Padding is pretty minimal on the straps and on the back, but there is just a little bit there. You have YKK zips. You do have a luggage pass-through here, a sternum strap that you can use if you want. To be honest, I haven't had a ton of time with this, but I just got one in and it kind of fit well into this video, so I thought I would tack it on to the end just because of that crazy price point. So if you're looking for a deal and if you are sensitive to the heavier weight bags, I know a lot of people complain about that from Air and other companies making just super heavy bags. Us in America, we don't really need to worry about those weight problems very much when we're traveling, but I know a lot of you overseas do have to deal with that a lot. So if you want something super light, definitely worth checking out in a bit more detail. I'll probably be putting out something once I've had a little bit more time to test it, but just wanted to get it out there. I think the Kickstarter is going to be going for a couple more weeks, so I'll put a link in the description below. Be sure to check it out. On that note though, that's the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. I'd love to hear down in the comments what travel tech you're using, or what tech, every day, or what travel gear. Let's get a good discussion going. Thank you all so much for watching though, and I'll talk to you in the next one.